So today we're going to talk about a really fun topic, how to not get sued when you sell your home. Of course, so when you go to find all your paperwork for selling your home, you might remember that you filled out a seller's disclosure statement. 99 times out of 100, your agent can find your disclosure statement. Here's what the disclosure statement is. It's like the history of the home, everything you know about it, what was broken, what was fixed. Now, tell you the type of system. Now, a lot of people don't know. They're like, do I have PEX piping? Do I have copper? I don't know, unless they're really detailed or into those kind of things. When you are doing work to your home, print the receipts out, stick it in a file, so later when you go to sell your home, you know all the dates and times and the vendors. Now, why do you want that? When you're filling out the seller's disclosure statement, it's going to give you 3 options. Now, pause. I can help you with all other paperwork. It's a cheat sheet. But basically, if you check yes, you have a problem in this area. If you check no, you don't have a problem. But here's what I tell my sellers. Really, the purpose of this document, yes, it is to disclose if there's anything wrong with the home, but it's really to help the buyer out, because when they buy your home, and so we moved in to have this really cool filtration system. And I remember we didn't service it right away. We made it 6 months, and then they came out and they're like, oh yeah, you click this button and it does all this fancy stuff and clears your air and whatever. They're like, no, we know how the house is constructed. It's not a problem, blah, blah, blah. It's probably just condensation. So we tell the tenant. So the company comes out, and because they had serviced the home, now obviously they're reputable too, but because they had serviced the home for so long, they were like, we totally forgot. We were thinking that the furnace was here. It is over here. So we're not only going to fix this, but we're also going to take care of all the cosmetic stuff that's messed up and restore your bathroom, which is really awesome. But here's the bigger thing. Maybe somebody wants to use these same vendors. Maybe they want to know the history, but the biggest thing is people are trying to figure out, how old is the roof? How old is the heating and cooling system? Have you ever had to make any repairs? Is there a history here? And as sellers, we're like, I don't want to say any of that stuff. That makes my home look bad. Weird, because there's usually something that's been wrong at some point. But I tell sellers, hey, think about it this way. If someone were giving you the keys to the kingdom, letting you buy the home, and then you were going to take it over because you're still learning where all the switches are and the buttons and how things work, you want to have proof that you've shared as much information as possible. For example, there was a home several years ago, and this is actually a seller who didn't disclose, and they were intentionally not disclosing, but they said, we're selling the home, we don't want to spend that money. And the neighbor is like, yeah, I'm glad you're finally dealing with this. We thought it's going to become a problem for our home too, because this, and this also happen when we have heavy rains. And we've been telling them about this for a really long time. Fast forward to a really sad story. That seller got sued for north of $85,000 because they did not disclose what they knew. Now, that's an actual out and out lie, but let me tell you another cautionary tale. Property issues. They say, oh, I can't remember when this happened, but this happened to this home before. Now, immediately, that buyer wants to go sue the seller because they think they've hidden something. Now, they did have to hire attorneys. It did get ugly, and they ended up finding out that it wasn't that seller who didn't disclose. It was a previous seller, but here's the thing. But it was through them thinking that they had not shared something. When you're buying a home, ask every question. Ask questions about the history. See if you can find the old disclosure from when they bought the home, or say, hey, is there any history we don't know about here? Do your due diligence that way. Then when you own a home, document everything and write down everything you know when you buy it, so when you go to sell it, you can pass that information on. Now, does the form require you write everything there? It does not. The more you are protected. And if you have vendors work on your house, write their name and number, because if someone is licensed, bonded, and insured, if there's an issue, they're going to go to them to get it addressed and take their money instead of yours.